there you see the matchup. That is a demon-based zoo deck, it looks like from the outset, versus Druid. And this is a matchup that Druid can really struggle in. Anytime a deck is moving up the curve in a very solid way, Druid can struggle with those openings. Now, Keeper of the Grove is a card that's critical to playing against those kinds of openers, but it looks like Washington State's deck is kind of built to fight that battle specifically.
The 4 keep.
I mean, it could be. I mean, you have turn 1 Flame Imp, turn 2 Knife Juggler, turn 3 Void Caller,
With
and
a
the
Doom
Void
Guard.
Caller's got a Doom Guard back behind him.
Yeah, I think you throw away the Doom Guard just to, you know, it's vulnerable to silence. You can curve out better with a 3-drop like an in-gang boss.
I think you go for it. Oh, come
Yeah.
on. I wanted to see the glory happen.
Yeah, I think they threw away just the Doom Guard and the Void Caller just repositioned in the hand.
I think so as well.
So that makes sense. They do pick up Abusive Sergeant, which is pretty good for fighting on the board early on. And Living Roots. Oh, this is the aggro Druid.
Yeah, I was just about to say that Druid of the Saber really changes the dynamic of this deck. Now we're going to see these players fight toe-to-toe. So kind of as you were mentioning, M-Gang Boss in that position suddenly fights fantastically. But again, they're having to face down some very hefty early pressure. Voidwalker is a great setup against Living Roots. And you back that with a Flame Imp, you're looking at Washington State being in the driver's seat from turn 1. This is a major position from them. Oregon, they're going to have to figure out how they want to dictate these resources. I mean, it looks like Druid of the Saber invest into the hero power on turn 3 and then try to pick off the Knife Juggler afterwards. They're going to leave all their minions on board.
Yeah, they might just get muscled out of the game now. And a Sea Giant, that's a card that makes its way in and out of zoo decks over time.
Yeah, I would say that the less times you anticipate Control Warrior being there, the more often you're going to see Sea Giant, because 2 things are happening in that situation. Number 1, there's more aggressive decks that are based around having sticky minions.
Yeah.
So it's likely that you'll get in situations like this. And then the other one is there's not as many executes floating around. So he sticks to the board quite a bit more often than usual. And Washington State, maybe thinking about that attack, I honestly think the Flame Imp should have been considered attacking into one of these trees and protecting that Void Caller for as long as you possibly can. Maybe you get to set up some big juggles. Yeah, I think it's a great play from Washington State.
Protecting the Knife Juggler as well. Pushing that damage is good, but how you beat Druid is, one, by pushing damage, but another one is just by having a good board.
Yeah.
And holding onto your board and making efficient trades, you can really just push Druids out of the game because they don't have a way to deal with lots of like medium-sized stuff all at one time, especially early in the game.
Here's the thing. Oregon has a very critical card in their hand with Swipe. They can start setting up the Swipe turn now and use that Druid of the Saber to maybe be a catalyst to that turn. But the other option they have too is just to unveil the Druid of the Saber, just hero power the Flame Imp, and then look to have the Knife Juggler set up to where Washington State is going to need to juggle it if they want to get out of this turn. But when you're playing against a deck that's dedicated to early minions, is that a risk you want to take?
I think it's a risk that you have to take.
Not necessarily. I kind of like just hero powering and setting up for the Swipe. Honestly, I don't mind this play either, because this is going to clear out the Knife Juggler. It's going to set up your Druid of the Saber to trade with the Flame Imp as well. You get to keep your Swipe next turn, and you can also even be on the development side of things. I mean, Savage War is not a critical card in this matchup. And Washington State actually kind of gets punished by this play from Oregon. I mean, this turned into a beautiful turn for them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a chance I think you even swipe right here.
Push 7 damage.
Yeah, and just push. But with the Knife Juggler draw, I mean, maybe there's difference now. I think that at this point, this is a little bit better. You trade off the Saber, get the Knife Juggler on board, you pay a little bit of extra life, and now suddenly you're the one in the driver's seat. You're the one having to be answered. But Washington State happens to have just about the perfect one. Void Caller backed by a Mal'Ganis.
Tough to deal with, especially since aggro Druids don't usually run big Game Hunter.
And here's the thing, Oregon just shied away from making the damage push. Instead, they chose to go for a trade. So now, can they race this Void Caller and the Mal'Ganis behind it? I don't know if they can, TJ.
Owl's pretty good. You can trade into that piloted Shredder. Can use Haunted Creeper plus Iron Beak Owl.
I think I definitely like using the Owl.
Ooh, no Owl.
They're going to go with the Egg instead, but here's the bigger thing I like, is attacking this Knife Juggler and kind of sending the signal to your opponent, maybe I don't have an important demon in my hand. And so Oregon may feel incentivized to make a trade like this into this Void Caller and then get punished by it on the backswing as well. You know, a lot of different things are happening in this game so far.
Well, we also have to realize that Washington State's at 14 health after this turn, and Oregon has a lot of burn in their hands, so they're going to have to turn on the Jets pretty quickly.
That's the other thing that's happening here, too, is can they fight back just versus the pressure they're facing?
Time to turn on the Jets. All right, so what's the best way to go about this? There is a way that they can play Ironbeak Owl plus Sea Giant. I should just play it.
This is a tough turn for them.
They can't clear off everything.
Because the big problem here is that Oregon has been sending the signal that they want to be aggressive. And so suddenly if you're in Washington State's spot, you go, what does that mean? What are they trying to accomplish here? And I'll tell you what, if there's a way to counter a position like that, it's put an 8-8 out and put a 9-7 out that makes you invulnerable.
Hello!
Oregon has to do something to this board state.
Well, they can clear it with Force of Nature Living Roots. But that's a lot of damage to invest into Mal'Ganis, and then they still have to worry about a Sea Giant on the board. They can push 4 damage after that, but they're going to start running dry with just a swipe in the hand.
I think you probably swipe before you play the Force Nature. You get to squeeze in the Hero Power. You also get the Leper Gnome out of it. Maybe even just make tokens from the Living Roots.
You'd have to trade in your Paladin Shredder, though.
Well, you can't attack face with it, so.
Well, you can if you Force of Nature Living Roots.
Yeah, I think that the utility of having the Force Nature in the coming turns is going to be worth a little bit more. Plus, again, you get the Leper Gnome out as well.
That's true.
Like, is the Sea Giant really going to attack a Leper Gnome?
It's like an extra 2 damage for free, basically.
Right. I mean, the Sea Giant doesn't want to run into 1/1s and 2/1s. It wants to put 8 damage to the face. If you restrict that option from your opponent, it puts them in an awkward spot where they look at it and go, maybe I have to attack the Leper Gnome.
Yeah.
Yep, I like to play.
And Living Seed, so going to put 4 damage on the board.
Just 2 happy little trees.
Yes, it is.
That's a second Ironbeak Owl, too. Which actually isn't the worst minion in the deck right now. It does gain 2 HP.
Mm-hmm. Sure, puts a creature on the board to contest. Also, if the Owl goes uncontested, it sets up lethal for the next turn. You hit it for 8 this turn, put your opponent at 14. Then you have 15 damage on the board with Lotheb, Sea Giant, and Ironbeak Owl.
And if Oregon has Savage Roar and you don't take care of anything, they're actually still a damage off lethal. Well, they're not anymore. That's a bold tap, Cotton.
Well, with Lotheb, Savage Roar, so it'd be 4 plus. Oh, it would be lethal. It'd be exact lethal. And they could still use it. The Savage Roar costs 8. They'd be an 8 mana even with Lotheb played. Interesting.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot to be in. I mean, it looks like they're going to go with Imp King Boss and Ironbeak Owl. Where's the Sea Giant pointed, though? I mean, I'd be surprised if it wasn't pointed at the face.
They put less power on the board and left themselves vulnerable. Dr. Boom off the top. Hello.
Does Oregon have an option other than to go for face this turn? Like, sure, the Ironbeak Owl is a pretty easy trade here, but you're staring at the Sea Giant and the Imp Gang Boss, and your opponent just attacked you for 8. Abusive Sergeant is going to put you in a tough spot here.
Yeah.
You know, Power Overwhelming, Doom Guard. You have to start thinking about how much reach Washington State has at this point. This may have made Oregon deviate from the plan they normally had. But maybe they just want to say, you know what, you got to have it and play Dr. Boom.
It's risky. Very risky.
What to do?
In every game of Hearthstone, you're going to have to take a risk at some point.
Just calculated risks.
Yep. Where's the best time to take it? And for Oregon, this might be the time.
Yeah.
Time waits for no one.
They're going to play defensive, though. We've seen collegiate teams time after time play defensively. I think the fact that you got 3 opinions weighing in on it, it's a lot harder to take that risk because you have to convince 3 people of it.
Yeah.
Which I actually don't mind this play either. I mean, they still do end up in the damage lead. They're rolling into Dr. Boom next turn. And Washington State isn't close to lethal anymore. I think life tap's off the menu. You implosion your own egg here?
Is it set up for lethal? No. I mean, I guess. You'd put.
Many possibilities.
You don't really have a way to set up for lethal unless you tap.
Wait, can you even?
I mean, do you want a life tap in this spot? I mean, I guess maybe you do.
Yeah, they need to try and set up lethal as quick as possible. Both of it is.
This is going to be met by Big Papa Boom.
Big papa boom.
We're going to find out if Washington State can answer this. The Boombots actually could be a liability here as well, you know, activating that Nerubian egg for them.
Where does this hero power go?
I think you chip out that 1/1.
Oh, darn. To the face!
We got to keep the pressure rolling.
Yeah.
There are times that's definitely true, but here I think you want to protect your Boombots about as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. Haunted Creeper.
Washington State's actually in kind of a peculiar spot, too, where
Ooh.
if you implosion first, the Boombots have less chance to hit the Nerubian egg, but if you don't implosion first, they have a higher chance to go to your face.
Yeah.
An interesting spot. This game went really back and forth all of a sudden.
Where's it gonna go? Okay.
Right to that freshly summoned imp.
Yeah.
But Oregon, it's a tough spot for them. And Washington State considering, what's the value of life tapping in this spot? Can we lose if we life tap?
Force of nature. Oh no!
Back-to-back innervate draw. Look at Oregon. They can't help but laugh. Those are the two worst possible draws in a row for Oregon.
They do put Washington State at 7 though, so Force of Nature off the top would be lethal, and I think at this point
That Boombot could still go to face too.
it could.
I think Washington State does not have life taps available anymore. I think they got to work with the natural draw.
Stop yelling!
Maybe missed an attack there, but not the biggest deal in the world. Oregon, there's a shade, so now Savage Roar is going to be turned on as well.
Actually, so they're going to put him at 6. Next turn they'd have 4. Savage Roar.
Swipe, Druid of the Claw,
There's
Force
so
Nature.
many outs.
There's a lot of stuff in this deck.
Druid
that
of the
can end it.
Saber, Savage Combatant.
7 and 5 damage wouldn't even end the game for Washington State, so they still can't life tap to even try to pick up that out. I mean, it's Sea Giant and go. Hope
It's
you
going to
don't
come
got it.
down to this draw
Wow.
for Oregon.
This is about as close of a game of Hearthstone as you can get.
This draw for Oregon. I'd say probably
Cross the fingers.
a quarter of their deck right now is lethal. What's it going to be?
That's
it!
lethal. They needed 2 damage picked up, and they go, hey, you know what? Hero power, innervate, Keeper of the Grove. These were our 2 draws. And with 2 back-to-back fairly dead turns, they still managed to draw just enough damage. Washington State
I must
couldn't get
safeguard.
enough pressure to end it.
Yeah.
Oregon, they can't believe it.
Exacties. That close.